Collected Essays of Valerie Lynn Stevens. Critical Thinking. Go with your gut. Go with your gut. This one applies the principle of it. If it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. First off, I believe that everyone was created to possess an innate intuition of right and wrong, in both a logistical sense and even in a moralistic sense. The moralistic part is fodder for another discussion, so I'll just set that on the pew for now for later perusal. Although this premise may be exposed to doubt in the presence of some people who seemingly lack this inherent sense of higher intelligence, trust me, they've got it too. They just choose not to more fully develop it or to use it. And as far as the erroneous notion that some of us are just miraculously born with high IQs, not that anyone with half a brain even believes that there is only one category of higher intelligence, especially as measured by such a daft instrument such as standard IQ tests extant currently. There is no such thing. Everyone must work at developing these faculties and refining them. Yes, it is true that some people are more extroverted and invest more of their time and energy into more outwardly activities and endeavors, while other people are more introverted and work at our best when we are invested with an equal balance of both inwardly directed activities and endeavors as well as outwardly ones. Although I have also had to work at developing my more extroverted abilities and interests, no one is born a fully developed, well-balanced human being, but that's what keeps life interesting and challenging, right? So no excuses, people. We're all smarter than that. Incidentally, I find it funny how people who talk about these issues are often accused of being condescending. But trust me, if I truly doubted your intelligence or disregarded you so much as a capable human being, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Thus, my main point for this entry is, everyone is usually a whole hell of a lot capable and gifted than they think they are. The hardest yet most rewarding part of this is in finding out what makes you special and irreplaceable. Because despite what that priggish boss once told you when you were threatened to quit, well, everyone's replaceable. You're not. Don't be afraid to shine, even when they try to dim it because it's shining in their eye. But I will end it with this quick caveat. Be brilliant, but try not to be a jerk about it. But I guess some will need to be graded on a learning curve. After all, coming to know oneself and to be secure with that self in its totality takes many years, even decades, for most to achieve, even for we more introspectively inclined folk. Because truly, I think a lot of assholery comes from people who just aren't as sure of themselves and are afraid other people will notice. But if they could only realize how unnecessary all that overcompensation is, if they would only just invest their energies in getting to know themselves, build up trust in themselves by making better choices in how they interact with their fellow human beings and in how they treat themselves, would they come to realize that they never really needed all that hubris and posturing in the first place. Yet this is why learning how to go with your gut takes work, just like any other psycho-spiritual endeavor. And perhaps it is even wise to teach ourselves this kind of critical thinking before we should attempt any other schooling in critical thinking. Because we are all too aware how many brilliant people there are who just seem to lack that self-respect necessary for enabling them to utilize their intellectual gifts in ways that are redeeming and pro-socially constructive to self and others, rather than demeaning and destructive. Thus, no more of this head over heart nonsense, or even heart over head. We have both, and the world is a much more constructive and lovely place when we develop both head and heart to serve one another, rather than pitting them constantly against one another. The head can be thought of as the part of us that thinks, wait a minute, that just doesn't sound right. And the heart can be thought of as the part that says, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. And the head is there to make sure that little brother or sister doesn't get itself into a heap of trouble. And the heart is there to make sure that big brother or sister doesn't lose its sense of humanity and morality. Thus, no more sibling rivalry between head and heart. Mamma Me says they will serve one another or have their internet taken away for a week.